another topic of discussion is people are pretty happy with Anthony Brown right now.
Yeah. Speaking of which,
go Mike.
Speaking of which, I need to issue a formal apology to Anthony Brown. I did not think he had the ability to perform as well as he did, and I did not think he was going to be as poised in the pocket. And one thing I really want to highlight is his pocket presence and his movement in the pocket is some of the most beautiful I have ever seen at Oregon. We've had some better quarterbacks, obviously, but he might have the best pocket presence of any of the quarterbacks besides maybe Vernon Adams.
Well, guys played a lot of football.
Yeah, and he's got beautiful pocket presence. He balled out, and I couldn't have been more wrong about him. I thought it would be tough. I thought it would have to completely rely on our defense to win that game in Columbus. Now, our defense did a fair share of the work, but Anthony Brown played well when he needed to. He made the right decisions. He dropped his shoulder on Ohio State's safety, converted that first down. That was one of the huge plays. Brown played great, and I could not have been more wrong about him. He's a quality quarterback, and he should be able to do great things for us this year, especially if he keeps playing like he did this week.
Yeah, I really agree with that, and I know you were a little hard on him early, but it is what it is. You got to get out and say your piece, and don't be afraid of that. But I do think this guy's just seen a lot of football. He's very calm. He's very collected. The moment never got too big. The stadium was not overwhelming. He came out right out of the gate and was just very cool. And I think that goes a long way for that offensive side. I think that nobody asked him to go out and win it on his own. He didn't try to do too much. He didn't try to go for any home run balls. I thought he just played an absolutely perfect game. From his perspective, at his talent level with the group that he has, I think he played a damn near perfect game.
It was a game that I certainly felt as though Oregon had a really good shot. I'm not going to try to proclaim anything that I didn't say because I picked Ohio State to win the game. I immediately jumped on 14.5 points on the Oregon side. I thought that was ridiculous. And I did say a number of times over the last week that I felt as though Oregon had about a 40% chance of winning the game. If I had to reassess the teams and they played again, I don't know. I tend to be stubborn about these things and still feel as whatever my original conclusion was, is that, let's say, Ohio State is the better team, that they're still the better team. But they played a game, and that's all that matters. And Oregon, in addition to winning the game, and again, this could play into the way the College Football Playoff Selection Committee looks at these things. If they play out all these factors the way they tell us they do, no Kayvon Thibodeau, no Justin Flo, no 5 key defenders on the road.
I think it should be noted that
really the only thing you could say about Ohio State is there has to be a judgment made and about Oregon from game 2 all the way through the end of the season in regards to how the two teams progress from there. But that's a judgment call. The things that I stated are facts that Oregon was able to overcome.
I think it's been kind of ignored that, not to mention Flo is out, but on top of that, Flo wasn't the starter in the first place. Drew Mathis was a starter. Drew Mathis got hurt. Then Flo stepped in. Flo played really well. Then Flo got hurt. So we were on our third linebacker, a middle linebacker, and he was a freshman who played a lot of the snaps.
And I mean, talk about some crazy stuff. I mean, we had one of the tight end, D.D. Johnson. He came out and had a phenomenal game, offensively, making great blocks, having catches or whatever. He went to the defensive side at the end, got the last sack of the game. I mean, this is a guy who played on the defensive side at Miami, played at the defensive side first year at Oregon, switches to the tight end spot. In my mind, he was the offensive MVP of the team last year. He was tremendous. And then this year, comes in a little bit late to camp. Still doing great offensively. They say, we need you over there. We're so thin on the defensive side. He switches over and goes both ways. I mean, there were some crazy things that happened in this game. I do think, though, the Oregon defense is something that now we can actually legitimize. It's proven. The blueprint's there. They've switched out the defensive coordinators. The talent level's there. They're playing good defense. They're playing solid defense. Yes, they'll get burned sometimes, but they're playing solid defense. That was always the question mark early. That looks like Ohio State's biggest problem right now. When I look at the boards and the message board, they say that the defense failed us. So Oregon having a good defense sets them up to be competitive on the elite level. We were worried about their offense. and Oregon's offense showed up beautifully. So I would agree with you, Mark. I mean, I didn't think it was going to happen either. And I'm maybe a little stubborn on this theory too. If they played 10 times in a row, do you think it would be 50-50 or do you think it would be 60-40? I mean, nobody's winning 10 out of these matchups.
I think if they played 10 times, Oregon wins a majority of them. I wouldn't have said that before the game, but after watching the game and how Oregon dominated in the trenches, if it was accidental, it wouldn't have happened all 4 quarters and seemingly every drive. Like,
good point.
There were a few plays where Ohio State got the advantage, but that was one player getting the advantage. Their entire front 7 never fully got the advantage of Oregon. And I just, trenches are huge when it comes to the game of football. They may not get the praise, but if you're losing the trenches like that, there's no way I think you win more than 4 out of the 10 of the matchups.
I would agree with that. And we saw this on tape with the Minnesota game. They were able to run on Ohio State. And so Oregon looked at it as a blueprint. But there again, I still thought that Ohio State's defense would put enough pressure on at some point in time with their pass rushers to make a difference in this game. They never did. Anthony Brown was clean the whole game.
Yeah, so did I, especially because their struggles with Minnesota seemed to be out of the 13 personnel, which is the bunch package, and Oregon didn't run that and still had success.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would also say another thing about the Oregon defense. Oregon defense became very flexible as well. Not only were you bringing offensive guys over to play defense, but they were bringing safeties up to play linebacker half the time too. So just a very creative defense. Very, very impressed with how they played on that side of the ball.